about Trump's leadership through COVID.
Yo, yo, yo. Alright, this is going to be like kind of a random stream today. I don't have anything specific to watch or anything. Just going to be playing some Zoids. Unfortunately, I was trying to clear up some diff space for Helldivers 2, which I have downloaded now. I upgraded my PC to be able to play it. That's the good news. The good news, we'll have some Helldivers streams. Actually mix it up a bit so the channel's not full of just Star Wars content. I have a group of friends who want to play, so I have to make sure that they're okay, you know, being streamed, you know, their chat online. But yeah, we might have some cool like group, you know, team dynamics, shooting the shit, going back and forth. Coming up soon, hopefully. Right now, I'm currently in the process of moving. I took a week off vacation from work, so I have this whole week to do some moving and get my new space set up. I'm kind of having in my mind, I want to turn the room into a to like an office work area, streaming area. I have ideas around like upgrading my setup. I need to get a shotgun mic, and I want to get you know, nice lighting, some shelving, put some little like figurines and shit. I wanted to actually get a Command Wolf little model kit for my shelf, my future shelf, for my future shelf. Look at this thing. This thing looks dope, right? So that, and maybe a Berserk Fury. Look at that shit. Then I was also looking at and I think I might do a reaction to the original Yu-Gi-Oh, because I saw RTTV doing reactions to it, and I was like, you know what, this show's actually pretty enjoyable. I don't know about the other Yu-Gi-Oh shows, but at least that one was pretty cool. But yeah, I was thinking about getting like I think it was this statue that I saw. Might have been this one. And then there's a Blue Eyes one as well. Either the Ultimate Dragon or just the regular one. And then I was thinking of having like a red and blue LED lights shining on them on my cabinetry or my shelving, and like some other like figures and shit that I'll put up there. But without further ado, let's just dive in. Again, ain't got nothing special to talk about today or anything like that. I'm just chilling. Want to make some progress on Zoids. I'm bummed out because, oh, that was the thing. I was clearing up memory on my solid state drive, which, by the way, I need to upgrade that. Upgraded everything else, but the solid state drive, I have 250 gigabyte. And the original idea is I'll put like the really memory intensive, you know, processor intensive programs on the SSD, so the read and write rates would be high. And then I have like a 2 terabyte hard disk drive that, like, you know, you save like regular files to and whatnot. Well, Helldivers alone really benefits from being on the solid state drive just because it's such a like graphically processor demanding game. So I had to clear a bunch of space on my solid state drive. And one of the things I didn't realize I did was I deleted my save data for Zoids, unfortunately, in that process. So I'm barely skating on the amount of memory I have left on my SSD. I have like 8 gigabytes literally. So I'm gonna upgrade to a 500 gigabyte SSD. I saw some online that are like $50. The nice thing is the prices really went down. When I first built my PC, I think the SSD was probably like a little bit over 100 or so. So, and now I can get one with twice the memory for like half that price, so that's what I'm going for.
We have a million excuses for.
I don't have any excuses.
So he failed.
I'm not going to say he failed. I think he dealt with. No, listen. How can someone who admitted that they don't know what they would have done and they don't know what he should have
I
done?
wasn't the president.
That's the point. It is something that has This is something that in our lifetime has never occurred.
Yeah, these are the Democrat arguments for why people were shutting down and people didn't know how long the economy should stay closed for and what the stimulus should look
Listen,
like.
anybody can
Did Trump make any mistakes during COVID?
Look,
Did Trump make a single mistake during COVID?
let me think. Did January 6th happen during COVID?
Maybe, yeah.
He should have never conceded the election. He should have just freaking kept. That was his only mistake. That was his only mistake. Now let me. Now can I ask my question?
This is getting
Yeah.
exciting.
Okay, so here's the thing. All I'm saying is, will you, since we're
What is
all about
1924 on his hat? I'm curious what that's all about.
Everybody get free stuff. People will argue for illegal criminal
Oh my
alien
God, I'm
migrants
off to a bad
come
start.
live off the American dime, right? You wanna
That's
give my
not what people
taxpayer
advocate
dollars
for.
in? Will you give them
Notice that the
proceeds from
one
this
thing
event?
about conservatives, like, they can never really argue the actual point. They always have to, like, make shit up.
Yours and mine, since we're doing so well.
I've never
People do not,
advocated for that.
yeah, people don't advocate
Well,
for
there's no advocation
immigrants
for
to
this.
live off the dime or whatever.
Economic equity.
Because they
You
don't.
support
That's not what the
police
economics are.
fighting back against ICE.
No.
When they- okay, so then you don't believe in the Second Amendment or the state's rights to have a militia.
No, that's not a militia.
That's
though.
literally what
That's
the
not a
militia is.
militia.
The whole reason the Second Amendment
Are you
exists is for
really-
the states to
are
protect us from a
you-
tyrannical
Are
government.
you really gonna try to conflate a paramilitary group, which is
The
police,
Chicago
the
police
police department?
The police are
is
paramilitary. Okay.
paramilitary, but the guys coming from the Black Hawk choppers with the masks who are
Dude, these guys have tanks. There are police departments with tanks.
the
No, there's not.
paramilitaries have tanks. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
shit.
What do they do
There are
anything?
police departments with tanks.
So yeah, they come from the military.
Oh my God.
That makes them paramilitary. What I'm telling you is this. This is
This would be a
not
close
militia.
match.
The police, the law enforcement's job is to uphold and defend the Constitution. That's what their job
to
is.
enforce their
When
state
they're
laws.
fighting against
To
the
enforce
federal,
their state
when they're,
laws.
no, when they're
No,
fighting,
state sovereignty doesn't matter
when
now.
they're-
To conservatives.
Oh my God.
I'm not complaining
Oh my
anyway.
God.
You kinda just
Does it
going
count?
off an emotional thing,
I'm
that's
not going
okay.
off an emotional. I'm going
You
off a
really
legal
are.
thing. You're going off of emotional.
Draw game.
Cops are there to-
I mean, does that count though?
State police are there
The
for state
federal-
laws. Local police are for local laws. The federal government are
The
for federal
federal
laws.
government trumps, no pun intended, any local law enforcement.
If they trump any local
Is
law
that
enforcement, well, you tell me, why did Trump allow half the country to close then under COVID?
Huh?
Why
You're
did Trump allow
moving
half
the
the?
goalposts, Destiny.
I'm not moving the
doing that
goalposts.
with
The president has that
I'm
much
not doing
control
that
over
with you.
everything.
I'm not
Then
doing
why did Trump allow half the country to close under COVID?
Someone may want to do that with you, but I'm not doing it. Are we talking about the police departments committing treason against the federal
Same
government?
battle, huh?
They have no
That's
obligation.
exactly what they're
They don't
doing.
have obligation to enforce
They
federal
took
law.
an oath to defend the Constitution
There's-
and the
it's-
citizens under their care.
The police force is there to enforce the laws that they have jurisdiction
Right.
over.
But
Not
the
federal laws.
But the police forces are abandoning their
This is getting
responsibility,
exciting.
like
They're
in
not abandoning.
Portland.
They don't have an
Come
obligation
on,
to do
man. They
that.
did. When you call the police in Portland, they don't show up for 3 hours. Someone got knocked unconscious the other day in Portland. The ICE agents had to come get that guy off the street and bring him in for medical
Yeah, there was
care.
a lady that got shot and killed by the feds in the Capitol building
Those
on
things happen.
January 6th when Trump refused to send anybody there
She
to.
shouldn't have been trying to break into Congress.
Sure,
And
but
so-
Trump also probably should have told them all to go there, right?
Hey, he did tell him to go peacefully.
No, he said they would be marching peacefully. They
patriotic.
also don't fight like hell, or they're going to lose their country, and that's what they went and did.
Hey, I saw you lose this argument on
I
Twitter.
didn't lose
don't
this
wanna
argument. I won it
rehash this
completely.
out
It's
again,
completely
like,
100%. I know
listen,
every part of that argument.
Trump
Trust
said
me.
peacefully and patriotically.
Trump said fight like hell, or
every-
you'll lose your country.
Every
If he said peacefully and patriotic, how did so many people misunderstand him?
so anytime you so
Is he a bad communicator too?
listen, I heard Hillary Clinton say, "I'm a fighter." Kamala Harris said, "I'm a fighter." Neither one of these women have ever.
How many people do you see
have ever
fighting in the
thrown a
street
punch.
with Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris banners?
What the hell? How'd I lose?
Dude, I saw
Did I step out of
the
bounds?
Blue
This
Collar
dude stepped
Freeway
out of bounds
earlier.
too. Fuck this guy.
Biden Harris and Harris Walls on the freaking bumper sticker with all these other cat stickers.
These are car driving.
These are. How did they get?
This is
a
like the
license?
conservative machine
How
right
did they
here.
get a
This is your
license?
problem,
Yes.
is the bumper stickers.
Yes,
That's what's
yes.
driving you crazy.
I'm just listen, Destiny. I'm a common man, and my
You
concern.
had 4 trips to Africa over COVID. What kind of
What can I
common
say?
man?
Very common. I'm a common man. I have my concerns are those of a common man. Arguing all these different issues, it means nothing to me.
Not compared
How
to
do-
DEI?
How do I feed my
This is
family?
getting
And
exciting.
are you going to give the proceeds from this event to these beautiful people who showed up? I don't
After
think
you
they got the
defend-
show they wanted because those first 3 guys were
After you
terrible.
defend states' rights to defend themselves
Let's
from a
have a
tyrannical
fun.
federal government.
How about this, guys? How about I'll give you everything in my pocket. You guys divide up equally. Destiny donates the proceeds of this event to you guys equally.
All right,
I think
final.
that's a good idea.
Brandon gets the final word there. Brandon gets the final word. What do you got?
My final word is this, guys. Just wait a little while. Don't be so. Don't be so. Listen. Don't be so hyped up over what's happening even now. In 3 years, Donald Trump's going to be gone, and you're going to have to make a very important decision about the future of this country. I would start preparing to make the right decision about that instead of complaining about something you can't change. Trump will be president for the next 3 years, whether you like it or not. In 4 years, a lot changes. A lot of you will have families, maybe kids, whatever.
What point is this guy making?
You start having
Just like saying stuff at this point.
your entire perspective is going to change. Mine did as I got older. I would not hang my hat on this crap because you're going to inherit this country and your children will inherit it from you. Don't create a situation that they can't come back. And I mean, that's
what they're doing. I mean, when you install a dictator, you don't really come back from that. The only way you get back from that is like civil war or revolution.
Wow. Just by show of hands quickly, how many people have kids in the audience? Okay, yeah. Yeah, we have some parents in the audience, just FYI. I have a kid. Okay. Wow, that was a good run. We're going to go straight into our next debater. Let's put our hands together for Eugene Janis. Everyone, here comes Eugene.
Travis.
What's up, buddy?
Bottle of water?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, what's up?
Hey. Okay, so immediately, I am not conservative. I am
Fighting against
left,
myself.
Speaking of the mic if you can.
the whole time here.
Okay, okay.
I'm actually here to have a good faith collaboration debate thing, as one of the complaints I've been getting so far messaging-wise is, especially with the Prop 50, we got to get this, we got to win, that's it. The only thing, my biggest concern is they say that, and they say it in a way as if we don't win, they don't have a plan for afterward. So I kind of want to ask people, what's your plan for after Trump, and what could be a thing to actually move forward for it? Because right now there's housing.
I mean, some people would say that after Trump is like, that is a plan that we even survived.
Yeah, like
have, like,
absolutely. But if you were trying to motivate people to survive through it, what would be a thing that could be actually pushed toward it? And I have some ideas, and we can go through some of them. But
Expedition 33 has been a fun game. No, I mean, like, part of what you're saying, part of an issue, there's like so much. You could write a dissertation on several aspects of this, I think, but there's this whole media environment that conservatives have had top-down control of, and there's this whole like movement that they've had so much control of. And one of the nice things I feel with conservatism is there's always an enemy, there's always marching orders, there's always something to fight against, there's always some like greater project or thing or movement, you know, you're a part of. Whether you're protecting, you know, the wiener dogs from the evil Haitians eating them, or whether you're protecting your borders from the 5, 10, 15, 25 million immigrants, however many are coming in, they've always got a thing to work towards. I think that one of the consequences or side effects of Democrats always being on the defensive when it comes to Republican
This is my
messaging
point, by the way.
is you never really
Been making
get
this
to
point for years.
establish your own
Yes,
thing,
good.
because you're always living like in the shadow of
They
the
got it from me. I'm gonna
criticism
take
of the
credit for
parties.
it.
Like, well, I'm not Trump,
I do think that's,
whatever.
unironically, I do think that's true though. I've been pointing that out for like years and years and years and years now. I'm glad people are like picking up on it. This idea, by the way, it comes from like, I mean, this is probably part of game theory too, but it comes from my conception of it. It came from sword fighting, from fencing, from sword technique. The idea is that if you're always on the defensive, all it takes, it's like a statistically, probabilistically bad position to always be on defense. And the reason for that is because when you're on the defense, you can be 99% effective blocking and defending, but that 1% chance of failing to block, the opponent is going to get a strike on you. And that's either going to hurt you and potentially boost them up. Now, if you are on the attack, if you're constantly on the attack and the other person's on the defense, you're not losing. Every time you miss an attack, you're not losing. But also with each attack, you are potentially winning. You're setting yourself up. Each attack that you use is like increasing your odds of landing a successful strike. If you're only on the defense, your options are not winning. Your options are staying alive or losing. When you're on the attack, your options are staying alive, winning, and losing isn't an option in that regard. Because in order for you to lose, the opponent has to attack. If you stay on the attack and you keep them on the defense, they don't have the opportunity to attack. This is where that expression, the best defense is a great offense, comes from.
So, that was amazing. I never would have expected anybody to do that. It made me almost consider moving back to California.
You should. It's great.
Almost. But the thing is that Democrats just have to do a better job at like so many different things, and I think that other things will come as a result of doing some things well. So more specifically, I think that if Democrats had stronger media figures that weren't always getting stabbed in the back, by all the other pundits and all the other people on the left who could come out and have stronger positions, then I think that you would just see there should still be an intentionality behind creating movements and policies and ideas to do things, but you would at least have that naturally and organically happening with some of these figures. Gavin Newsom is one. As long as this guy's way to the left, I think Mamdani in New York City is probably going to be another one. AOC to some extent, is one kind of in the background. But
I think a lot of the stuff I watch online, I watch you, I watch a bunch of other people. There's a point where I almost just ask the question, like, are they cooperating? Are they doing everything possible to at least show that they're trying to make efforts, burning calories to do things, share messaging?
People or politicians, or what are you talking about?
Even like, we're just backing each other on certain things. You know, like
a political group, or
or sharing, or hey, when you're done watching me, go do this. Or the other one is, if anybody watches John Oliver, my biggest complaint on his show is he gives us a bunch of shit that is absolutely horrid, doomer shit, and then doesn't tell us what to do about any of it. Like, just, I don't know, eat it, get ulcers, fuck off, see you next week. Like, it's unhelpful.
I agree. I think that part of this, I've talked about this a lot on stream, is the idea that the sides are playing different games sometimes. So on the conservative side, they are playing the politics game. It is the Game of Thrones. They want to win their seats, and everything they do at the end of the day is geared towards some political end. And on the left, that's not really the same game that I think a lot of the kind of alternative media people are playing. And as a result of that, they don't play it the same way. Like, if you've watched my stream for any number of years, like, you've heard me remark how crazy it is that, you had fucking Benny Johnson. God, what a fucking loser, okay?
Yeah.
And even for his class of people, Jesus, you'll never meet. Raise your hand if you've ever met an actual Benny Johnson fan in the real world. Anyway, okay, we got one guy over there met him. Okay, guy who manages his YouTube. What? They're in
Russia.
Okay, wait. Do you speak Russian? Okay. So, you have him doing shows. I believe it was out of the White House. They invited a bunch of
couple of them.
And then on the left, you got for a while. I don't know what the streamer numbers are for other people, but me, Hassan, and Wash are like the three largest, ostensibly left-leaning streamers. But we can't do any content together. Yeah. Those two hate, everybody for different reasons. Yeah, there's no cooperation anywhere, and you're seeing this cringe. I'm trying so hard. I imagine if you have there's some people that are hard to love. Okay, I'm trying my hardest to love Hakeem Jeffries, and my God, watching him say anything positive at all about Eric Adams fucking killed me. I'm like, please, God, stop. If you guys say you don't want to, endorse Mamdani for whatever reason, okay, whatever, maybe I get it. But to sit here and simp for this loser, the Democrats have a really hard time kind of bringing people together, working together, and that extends from the political figures down through to the influencers and the YouTubers and everybody.
Yeah. One of the things to take a news diet off of for a while, and I chose extremely poorly. Don't do this. I started researching cults, and that was a bad move on my part.
You don't even have to turn off the news right now.
That turned in. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many similarities in between, and you kind of come up with your own theories and stuff. But I would say my upbringing was very Italian, we'll say, like lots of hand waving and screaming at each other and stuff. That was how we showed love. Later,
I deserved it as one. I did badly.
In so many ways, but it has prepared me for having conversations with other people, such as the last guy that was here or anything like that. Just not backing down. Didn't have to escalate. Didn't have to get violent. But also, I can't just cower down and just let you steamroll me over that. And I feel like that's an actual thing to take pride of in America, that most people didn't have to deal with that. But now it's almost a requirement because they're just unprepared for this kind of battle.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it, unfortunately, comes down to people don't talk about this as much. We say like, oh, misinformation, and we kind of like move on from it. But
Right.
the internet has truly changed everything. And you know, like in some ways, you know, like I feel better sitting across from like an actual neo-Nazi who has like a strong belief system that's opposite mine, and you know, we can have the fundamental differences, you know, morally. For the last guy that sat here and argued with me, my feeling, I could be wrong, my feeling is that he probably wants what's the best for this country, what's the best for his family, best for his, you know, his children, everything else. And I think that it's tragic that there is such a wall of like different realities that we can't communicate with each other. And especially when there is so much incentive online to feed people certain realities, because you make money on the algorithm, or other people are making money, you know, pushing propaganda or whatever, or because the Republicans are playing the politics game a little bit too well. So,
Do you think that could actually be a platform to run on? Of like, we're gonna fix internet or fix the algorithms?
Absolutely
Or no? Full on no?
No, because I think one of the issues is it's hard to tell people this, but people like it. I think people want it. You know, like, I mean, how, did you watch me do my COVID lab leak research? Yeah, that was boring stuff. Watching videos outside of school online, which is a lot of fun. And people like that more. Now, my audience is special. I never criticizing them or anything. But, like, you can see, like, where the interest is in terms of what people consume. I wouldn't mind it so much as though I wish that people understood more what they were watching, and that it was more accurately understood what was being shown. So, like, if you want to watch, like, you know, videos of Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk or Destiny or whatever, you know, like screaming at college kids and owning them, I think you should be able to do that, and I think it's fine to do it, I think it's fun to do it, but know that you're watching a professional, like, smurfing through a bunch of college kids and annihilating them. You're not, this is not like a serious intellectual good faith challenge between two equivalent parties.
But what about, say, like, social media algorithms? You can identify where the account is from. You come on, oh, this is clearly, I don't think they have America's best interest because it's from China, or something like that.
Personally, I think that I've said that for a while. That should be like a law that I think is passed. That if there's like a major enough social media account or media figure, their country.
Bro, where's my teammate at?
Yeah. Because I think
The teammate is so bad in here.
10 different large accounts, and that law went into effect. And the next day, you found out that like.
How about you fight?
Russia,
Okay, how about you focus on the battle and stop trying to talk to me?
Yeah, I would hope so. And would you want to retweet them or kind of investigate them more, or maybe I don't want to do this and I start unfollowing them or something like that?
Yeah.
Like
I'm trying to fight, okay? It'd be nice if you help me out a little bit. Crazy idea.
Mutually assured destruction. One thing I mentioned when it came to the with the Russian-led DNC and the DCCC hacks or whatever is
You activate the EX move.
selective transparency is worse than no transparency.
Yeah.
It's better to know nothing than to gather a few facts, because when you gather a few facts here, you start to make assumptions about that.
Yep.
And you
Hold
might be
XA.
way more wrong than if you didn't know
Fill in the
anything at all. Yeah, so I feel like if we had a media environment that was a little bit more regulated in some ways, but like people just don't. I don't know anybody that would actually want that. Nobody's like really pushing for that.
Yeah.
But having
Well,
some
I
of the
think it's
selective
also-
skepticism, like for like just real quick, and then, like APAC is the thing that everybody knows, right? Everybody talks about APAC, but it's because they've got a public register and you can see everybody they donate to and everything else. But you don't know who the foreign people are supporting, or you don't know who's behind a lot of the big Twitter accounts. So yeah.
And I guess I would also add in there, like, some of the things that, like, housing could affect everybody, MAGA and whatnot, but, like, something quick would be, like, an automatic, like, better spam laws for texting or cell phones,
I think
something
Bush
like that.
passed some of those, didn't he?
And they all got
those?
repealed, yeah. Well, that and a lot of our technology is
got more
old
sophisticated.
because we have to have backdated stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But like upgrading some of that or something that could be noticeable, you could actually tell them, hey, on this day, no more spam calls unless it's like actually registered or something. Just trying to run on something that would actually improve somebody's day. That because I can't come up and say like, you're gonna fix housing. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I'm gonna afford it. I don't know if that includes me. Like most people, when they say what generation they're in, they don't actually know what age range or.
Yeah, but I think one issue is that because we've become so detached from each other. Like if you had somebody who wanted like a $10 an hour minimum wage, or somebody who wanted a $20 an hour minimum wage, having these people fight with each other, it might seem like they're both radical to each other, but if you separate them, the guy at $10 an hour is going to be in a group where they're going to be people arguing for no minimum wage, and the guy at $20 an hour is going to be arguing for a living wage for anybody who looks at a job.
Yeah.
So like you get these people that are so far apart from each other because they're not communicating.
Also dictating where they live and stuff too. Their whole entire situation.
But then it's hard because like we can sit here and talk about like, oh, what would transparency look like for better social media environments? Well, right now half the country is willing to accept Donald Trump having cryptocurrencies under his family name that are literally, this is the definition of like untraceable money. And he's having dinners where people who are the top dollar donor, it sounds like a fucking Twitch stream, right? The biggest supper of the month is allowed to come and have a conversation with them.
Oh my
So,
god.
like, if you ask them, like,
Friendly fire.
how does this entire cryptocurrency scam work? Most people don't know. They just know it's like, hey, this Donald Trump's doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how do we
kind of
push
all
those things?
under from there.
Yeah.
All right, final point there, Eugene.
I just appreciate the conversation really quick. I hope people take this as like an actual good faith conversation of how to improve things. Some of the stuff works, some of it won't. Other people have ideas. Anybody has any ideas or anything, I'll be in the back. And I'm trying to start up something called monetized talking, which is a ridiculous way of saying running a podcast network. But the general consensus is like how to break through to the other side, but also do it in an authentic way where they trust it enough to go like, well, I don't believe what he says, but he hasn't shown me wrong. Like I would say, a lot of the stuff on our side is the hyperbolicness, as opposed to this is the exact thing that was said. And like you don't necessarily do that, but you hear other people on Twitter, this is what happened.
No, I mean, it's not hyperbole. It's actually just being able to understand the English language and not play dumb. There's implications and connotations to words. Oftentimes what happens to Donald Trump is not that people are exaggerating what he said, it's that people are actually understanding figuratively, implicitly, connotatively what he's saying, and then the right hides behind, well, there's multiple interpretations of words, and as long as we can find some dishonest interpretation of the phrasing of what he said, then we can pretend that he didn't say what he said. That's really what's going on. It's not exaggerations. It's actually just being honest about language usage.
What I saw, and it just kind of goes back and forth, and it disrupts the trust that could have happened to people that are snapped out of the cult. And the other part is, if you are in the cult, like, go find other people that left, so you have an actual place to go. There's definitely people that go like, oh, I don't like this. I wanted the Epstein stuff, but also, if I start telling people this, I'm gonna lose my job, my family, my kids. No one's gonna talk to me. I'm gonna get run out of town. So I'm gonna shut the fuck up and just nod. So
Yeah. I mean, I think having a more cohesive media environment and more cohesive reality, I think, would get in that direction. But that's a huge monumental task.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate it.
All right, put your hands together for Eugene. Thank you so much. Awesome stuff, man. Okay, quick roll call for debaters that may or may not have arrived late here. Baron. Baron's here. Okay, great. We got Baron. David. David, you got a debate ticket? David. No David. The person who wanted to be called UBI. Are you here? You're here? Okay, fantastic. We got UBI. Simon Park. Are you here? No Simon Park? All right.
That's a lightsaber in his trunk.
Brandon Lee. Did we already have Brandon Lee? Brandon Lee back there? Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll get to you. Okay, awesome.
Damn, my cannon does nothing to him.
Eric?
Bro, what are you doing?
All right. Well, that's you. Let's go with Eric
Fight.
next. Come on up, Eric. Come on down.
Dude,
He needs a long applause. He's got a long way to walk here. Keep it going for Eric. Oh, yeah.
oh my god.
Hey,
That attack did a lot of damage, actually.
Alright, so I'm going to take this conversation on a whole different direction from what you've been talking so far. How seriously do you view the threat of automation, and what's the time span for that?
I would say not seriously at all, just because I'm not well enough versed on it to know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that there's like a retort, like the claim is that AI is going to threaten a lot of jobs, automation is going to threaten jobs that can't be replaced. The retort is that this is the lump of labor fallacy, we always find more work to do. And then the counter retort is that AI or general intelligence represents a type of like intellectual work or creative work or automated work that is actually going to be new compared to anything that's happened before. And then the counter is like, yeah, so that's where I'm at. So I don't know I don't know enough facts to go into, yeah.
Right, so the response to automation is that there will be new work.
Yeah.
Right. I think that ultimately the net loss of jobs will be greater than the jobs that are created. I think we have what you can call corporate capitalism, right? We've depended on corporations for jobs.
My
right?
ally is
That's
stupid. It
literally
just, what are
every
you
single
doing
one of
back
us
here? You know what I mean?
depends on the corporation,
My
unless
God.
you're a small business owner, right? But I think that I would take the automation threat a bit more seriously because I would mention three major industries that might be affected. And these are three industries that hire a lot of people worldwide. It would be trucking, call center workers, and computer programmers.
Okay, trucking. What was the second one?
Call center workers.
Call center. Oh, okay.
Call center workers and computer programmers. What are your thoughts on those being automated?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard these before. I think I've even mentioned, the trucker thing is supposedly really scary in the United States. There's a huge amount of, I don't think it's the number one industry, but it might be.
Survived by the skin of my teeth.
A ton of people,
Right.
and the threat of automated cars is supposedly really scary there, but thankfully Elon is pushing that back every year, so hopefully we never...
Right. We have Waymos already here in LA, right? And
Sure.
in San Francisco,
They're
right?
not trucking though, but no, I know what you mean, yeah.
Right. So again, the trucking employs millions of Americans, mostly Republicans, mostly living in red states, right? Not college educated, high school diploma kind of thing. I think this is a bigger threat than people seem to.
Are they
realize.
mostly living in
I
red
think
states?
that,
I have a feeling, I bet you if I look this
we-
up, most of them actually live in blue states because there's more commerce that goes through there.
Leave it to me.
Yeah, Texas, California, Pennsylvania, Florida, and Ohio. I mean, that doesn't fully tell me the answer, but it kind of points me in that direction a little bit.
Trucking industry, not only do the truckers lose the job, but also the dining, the diners, the restaurants, the truck stops. I also think that the vision that Democrats are putting forth to address that is non-existent, right? Meaning that no candidate thus far has even remotely addressed this fact, right? That automation is a threat.
I feel like the situation is like right now so dire presently in terms of stuff being talked about and stuff that people care about. I think it's hard to even be forward facing. On the conservative side, like they say that every single problem was literally existential, and then on the Democratic side, it's starting to feel like every single problem, to some extent, or at least a lot of them are existential. So when you're in that like fight or flight mindset, it's hard to kind of like plan for the future, I guess.
Right. So it's like the scarcity mindset, right? It's
A little bit, yeah.
Right. So
I think there's like a broader way to talk about it, but nobody ever really addressed the conversation. But it has to do with like how do you address workers that are left behind when your GDP is growing? It's like
Right.
a broad way of saying it.
Well,
yes.
that's the whole point of automation is that we will be as productive as ever, even more so, because robots can do better jobs than humans, right?
But I feel like that assumption that we would live in this kind of like post-scarcity world, for some reason, I'm sure most economists probably saying, generally speaking, it feels like people don't account for the fact that consumer demand seems to be infinite. Like the appetite for a consumer for more stuff is like always growing. So insofar as if there are other people that are sitting around that can have, everything provided by robots, somebody's going to want something that one of those 99 other people can provide, and then that's, for some reason, that's always rolled forward that way. Now, the claim is that AI or something is going to represent a unique displacement of workers that, won't be able to be compensated with just increased demand and all the labor stuff. But I mean, that has yet to happen, and I guess we'll see. If it does, then damn.
I just view a failure on both Democrats and Republicans in terms of like offering a hopeful message for the future. And as my name implied, the UBI thing, there's only one candidate so far that has even remotely touched on this.
Andrew Yang, I bet.
And it's Andrew Yang, right?
But he doesn't really. He really doesn't really. He just kind of gives like the most like broad, vague solutions to the problem. I mean, he talks about it, but it's not really like the solutions he offers are anything more serious than what everybody else is offering.
So one of the things that he had was a universal basic income, which was $1,000 a month.
I mean, I guess the UBI is. I'll give him credit for that. But the issue that I just see it as like a political non-starter. So it doesn't really, like, for me, it doesn't really count as like a realistic solution because it just has very little possibility of actually passing anytime soon.
Vision to fix the tax system in America, which you've touched on this before because I do watch your videos. He proposed a value-added tax system, and I think there's many different versions of a value-added tax system, but I believe the best version is the UK's version, in which it's a 20% tax on all luxury items, non-essentials, right? There's I believe a 3 or 6% tax on semi-essentials. Think diapers, children's clothing, things of that nature. And then there's essentials are not taxed at all, meaning groceries like milk, eggs, rice, beans, fruits, and vegetables, right? I would also mention that the UK has a sugar tax, right? Because do you really want more people to succumb to diabetes and other diseases that would put a pressure on their healthcare system, right? So
I don't necessarily think that, I can't say this would be a bad tax structure for a kind of like quasi-post-scarcity future, but the only issue is right now we're designing kind of like the perfect tax or societal fiscal structure for a reality we're not quite at yet. So I think it's hard to, I
think the value-added tax system offers a lot of strengths even now. If it were to apply.
I'm not going to disagree on that. It'll never happen because Americans, well, actually, that's not true. It would only happen if Trump did it, because apparently that's the only way conservatives will accept new taxes. But I think most economists, I think everybody is generally in favor of a type of value-added tax because it was.
Damn, she actually came in for once.
But yeah,
Came in swinging.
I don't think I would support that, but I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately.
Well, I think all of these conversations that I've heard so far, I mean, that you have, and I really applaud you for what you do, right? To put yourself out there and talking to the right. I just think it's just so divisive. It doesn't really offer a unifying message. There's a vision of a universal basic income that has to do with kind of reeling it all back in and offering an actual vision to actually fixing this country's problems. So when it comes to UBI,
I don't think the right would go for this. I think all these sorts of things they'll just characterize as being like, socialism, communism. Democrats are lazy and they want to mooch off the system. The ironic thing is that yes, if Donald Trump were to say it, they'd go for it because they're fucking retarded and they actually don't think for themselves. But because it's not Donald Trump saying it, coming from you, they're not gonna accept it.
$1,000 a month to a single mom or a family or someone that's just struggling to survive, they're gonna get the $1,000 a month. It's gonna subsidize their wage. If they use that money to buy the groceries that they have to buy these things, right? They have to buy their everyday staples, right? Well, those things won't be taxed at all.
Let's go.
So you're basically giving these people the most help you can give them, right? Once they run out of $1,000 a month, then they still have to be productive members of society. They still have to find a job to cover for whatever else they have as expenses. So in terms of progressiveness, I think this is the most progressive tax we can have. Also, a value-added tax, and I've heard you talk about a wealth tax and how efficient it is. I think a value-added tax is way better at taxing rich people, right? Because it targets their consumption, right? So when it comes to VAT, a uniform VAT of 10%, right? A 10% VAT on, let's say, your TV breaks. You got to buy a new TV, $500. All right. How much is the 10% VAT on that? Well, it's $50.
That's a little bit regressive, though.
$150, right? But as you go into the higher, level of society, what's a 10% tax on a $20,000 Rolex watch, or a $100,000 sports car, or $1 million yacht, right? So we're going to target rich people's consumption choices.
Where's my fucking partner at, bro? What the fuck?
And again,
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I feel like we're designing optimal tax strategies for a country that's absolutely we can't even agree on progressive income taxes in terms of higher taxes for wealthy people. We just had these whole Trump tax cuts that are absolutely obliterating our budget that have now been solidified after the one big beautiful bill. So the idea of trying to talk about a progressive value-added tax structure. Again, I think there's just
bro, you gotta be kidding me.
It's like a land value tax that all the Georgian people like to talk about too. It just feels like we're so far away from even having. We don't even agree on what the problems are when it comes to taxes in the U.S.
I mean, one of the reasons why I put myself out here like this too is because I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people about this, Republicans included. I drive for. I'm an Uber driver here in SoCal.
Your partner's essentially useless in this game.
Right, and I've talked to Republicans about this. And I am able to have the most productive, healthy conversations with them if I stick to just this topic. And a value-added tax is actually pretty popular amongst them, right? It's pretty straightforward, right? You're taxing luxury, you're taxing people's consumption. Yang also proposed that if you're going to raise this 10% value-added tax, you're also going to lower the federal income taxes by a similar percentage. You're not gonna put in an extra an extra
Like
tax on people, right?
That also doing some alleviation, right?
Right, you're alleviating it from the income tax system and then just having this luxury tax system, right? So what better way than to tax your people? First of all, why are you taxing people based off of their labor? Like, don't you want more of that, right? Like it's income tax system is one of the most unfair tax systems in the world. I used to work at a UPS warehouse where people are working back-breaking labor, like during COVID, like working 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and then they go home and then they get the paycheck and it's like 30% tax. Like that's super unfair. I believe that's one of the reasons why Trump won. Trump won this time around because he won over.
Doesn't make any sense.
Right?
He
won over the middle class because the argument that you'll hear a lot is, oh, it's not fair that I'm getting taxed more and I'm working my ass off.
What is he doing about that though?
Doesn't work as hard as I do, right?
By the way, it's not taxes, by the way. Taxes is almost a red herring. The real issue in the United States is wages. If you had enough, if your wages were good enough, you wouldn't worry about the taxes. And here's like part of the reason I say this is because it's something like 47% of Americans don't pay net taxes. It's not the tax rate that's the problem. It's that you don't get paid enough in general.
I feel like one thing that I wish would happen in the United States is I feel like we like radically need to change the way that we approach talking about taxes.
Yes.
Like conservatives talk about them like they have to be avoided at all costs. And when I hear people on the left talk about them, they're talking about like a punishment.
Like a punishment, yeah.
But like, you know, something else that like I could just
It's a necessary evil. It's a thing that we have to do. And the question is, how do we distribute the burden?
It would only work that way if there were a whole group of people that were also willing to do other types of work that I personally don't want to have to do. And the idea that
you know, in fact, if they were to move away from a income tax to a VAT, the tax rate, the effective tax rate for most consumers would probably increase, because the income tax rate, it's marginal. So depending on how much you make, the bracket that you fall into and how much you're paying decreases. But a VAT would be, it would apply like 10% to everybody. Everybody would be paying 10%. So there's people who work, they don't make enough to even pay net taxes, who are going to pay zero taxes or get a tax rebate at the end of the year. Whereas if you had a VAT, they're paying a 10% tax. There's some people, actually, let's look, I'm not in the mood to look it up actually. I was going to say, let's look up the tax brackets and look it up, but yeah, again, okay, and I really need this to sink in. 47% of Americans do not pay net taxes, meaning for all the goods and services that the government provides, you know, the share of like road repairs, public schooling, police and fire, things of that nature, like people forget those things cost money. You know, I almost wish we could move to a system for a month where we didn't have any taxes the way we do it now, and people would just get like an itemized bill for all these things and then realize how much they cost and how much they actually don't pay for it right now at a current setup, because the burden for that is usually shifted up to the higher earners. But yeah, if you're in that lower bracket, you're not paying net taxes as it is right now, because you get a tax refund or rebate at the end of the year, or how much you're taking out in taxes is higher than the amount that you're putting back in. But if you were to move to a VAT, that's kind of unavoidable, because now you're paying at the point of sale a 10% tax. So you've now gone from like a 0% tax to a 10% tax. But if you're not making ends meet, if 47% of Americans are struggling to make ends meet, it's not because of the taxes, because again, they are not paying net taxes. So there's something else going on there, and what's going on there is wages. They need to be paid higher wages. That's it. But we'll avoid that conversation like the plague. And there's a lot of people will hear that and they'll just like reflexively, in an emotional way, push back against that. And it's worth asking, like, why are you even having that kind of emotion?
At like the incredibly heightened experience I get to have in this country means that I have to pay some chunk of my income so that other people can live, you know, outside of destitute poverty. Like that shouldn't even be like a regret. That should be like a celebrated thing. And even if people don't like or even if people don't intellectually understand it, intuitively they do. Because, you know, if somebody was making some amount of money online, you could just tell them, hey, there's like a whole bunch of crazy countries that you could move to and live in the wilderness and you'd be so fucking rich. And they go, well, I don't want to fucking live there, right? Well, of course you don't. But part of the reason why you don't want to live there is because you don't have like a whole society that is like moving everybody forward from top to bottom. Yeah.
All right, you get the last word there, Mr. UBI.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to cover this as fast as I can, because there's so much ground to cover when it comes to universal basic income.
Okay.
I think the vision that a UBI can do for us is to also offer a way to adapt to a changing economy. I mentioned that trucker who loses his job. He's not going to live in an expensive city like LA, San Francisco, New York, right? $1,000 a month there isn't really going to do much for that trucker, right? We're paying $2,000 a month rent here in LA, right? But is that most likely that trucker's going to live in a small town? He loses his job tomorrow. He receives $1,000 a month, right? That money can help that individual and his small town to basically invest in their economy so that you can see a resurgence of small businesses and self-employment endeavors, right? So again, the vision of the UBI is that what it can do for us, it's very complex. There's a lot of ground to cover. There's so much in terms of how it's a, you could even call it a left-leaning libertarian idea with, instead of the wastefulness that government can do. I mean, we've already seen it in terms of the homeless industrial complex that's happening here in California. Tens of billions of dollars have been spent on trying to tackle homelessness. Has anyone seen an improvement? No, because it's there's so much wastefulness and inefficiency with government, right? Whereas the UBI it's a left-leaning libertarian idea because you're reducing government bloat and waste, right? And instead you're putting that money straight into people's pockets. You're going to save money in the long run on many different levels. Again, there's so much ground to cover. I can talk about healthcare. I can talk about the prison system. I can talk about how this offers a better vision for America, both going down in terms of jobs and automation and all that. But I do. It really kind of see these kind of conversations happening where neither, like you guys are just arguing, like it's just two sides arguing on some of the dumbest fucking positions ever, and no one is really actually thinking critically to move forward, to move this country forward. It kind of
This is the power of a champion.
I just realized I've been talking this entire time without the microphone picking it up. No, I was saying that there's an impression that people have that there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. That's almost never actually validated with statistics or any kind of study or anything. People just repeat it. It's like a religious belief at this point with people. We do randomized auditing of government programs and systems, so we have an idea of how much waste, fraud, and abuse actually in the systems. There's like a threshold of what we consider to be acceptable range. Most people don't know this. They just assume that there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse, and they have no idea. They've never looked at a government audit before. And by the way, I mean, you have waste, fraud, and abuse in private organizations as well. This isn't a unique thing to public organizations. But there just isn't really all this waste, fraud, and abuse like people think it is. It's just a matter of like some of these things just cost money. They just do. And people just don't like, they want everything for free, right? They want all the benefits of society. They don't want to have to pay for it. So that's what I'm going to say. The other thing was, talks about we need someone who like talks about these issues in a rational way. The problem is that we can have that in a society. We may already have politicians like that already as is. The public will not recognize it. Even if it did exist, even if we had it, we still wouldn't be able to recognize it. We still wouldn't be able to admit that it's there in front of our face, because as long as you have the partisanship, as long as you have the political divide, as long as you have the media ecosystem, there will be people to spin whatever one person says or hide it from half of the population or put their own twist on it. And I think there's a lot of these like moderate, enlightened centrist voters that think like, oh, we just need like this moderate, reasonable person to come along and it'll fix the whole political discourse. But the reality is that those people probably already do exist. And also, if you were to get the ideal version that you're talking about, those people are not immune from the media ecosystem that's out there that'll tar and feather them, take them out of context, misrepresent what they're saying, and just kind of like lie about them. So what I really hear when I hear people say that is that they themselves cannot identify the difference, the distinction between politicians who are just speaking out of their ass versus politicians who actually do have like reasonable takes and whatnot, because they already do exist. You don't have the ability to perceive it, because what you're relying on is you're relying on like the culture and the body politic at large to agree like, oh yeah, everybody agrees that this person is reasonable. That's never going to happen. That's a pipe dream. That never will happen. And so like you're not going to be able to rely on that as your barometer to determine whether or not there's a reasonable politician or not. You're gonna have to rely on your own ability to engage in critical thinking and analysis of what people are saying. And the fact that you right now you can identify any politicians who fall into that category tells me that you don't have that ability on your own.
It kind of makes me sad because it's like, what the fuck are we doing, right? And like I
Yeah, I
said,
understand, but I think also you kind of have to meet people where they are. Like the UBI argument can be the best argument in the world, but if I show the right group of conservatives a picture of a bunch of brown and black people getting it, they're going to be immediately opposed and they're going to call them all lazy. Like, okay, well, I guess they're...
that's the beauty about the universality there, right? But Yang also had a really good. He actually had traction with Republicans during that 2020 election cycle, right? So he was able to offer a vision that Democrats didn't offer, right? So again, this is we're all just kind of like just going in circles with some issues that we've heard, and it's all brain rot kind of topic, right? And I get it. It's amazing. It's really cool to have you on the left side to like defend a lot of these positions, but I still think it's still not enough. And Democrats have failed it just as much as the Republicans. I mean, I'm not even going to mention Republicans, but Democrats are failing, and I'm trying to learn from those failures, and I'm trying to like offer a different alternative.
All right, thank you, Mr. UBI. Rock and roll. You had a good run. All right, we're going into our next debater right away. Oh, just a quick reminder, Stephen will be signing posters. You can get a free poster after and a picture with Stephen once we are done with our debaters tonight, so don't go away once we conclude. Callie Chan, you're up next. Put your hands together for Callie Chan. She's coming straight from the back of the house, so keep that round of applause going. Stretch those arms, clap them together. Callie
Clap
Chan.
those cheeks.
Here she comes.
This is the
Rock and
power of
roll.
a champion.
Woo!
Alright, I'm bored of this. I'm tired of politics, but there's not like good drama slop to listen to. I don't know. Let's see what happened on
Well,
this
I think
furry.
we could dispatch you to the Middle East. Maybe we could solve some problems there. Where's the Middle East?
The art of puppetry is a very unique one. It requires the careful manipulation of inanimate objects to make them seem lifelike beyond mere human imagination. For those in the profession, complete mastery can only follow years of vigorous training and performances, with such displays of talent drawing enthusiasts from far and wide.
You want to start us off? Sure. Okay. Where is don't do it? Your other account and no, what don't do that? I know. Because you know, I know, yeah, and I don't agree with it, I know. But it's how it is. Yeah.
Unsurprisingly, many of these enthusiasts congregate online to create communities out of their passions. And in 2017,
I better just
a
take on this
small-time
Iron
self-proclaimed
Kong right
girl by
away.
the name of Sierra Green set up a TikTok account to be a part of it, while also posting about her personal life and hobbies. Sounds pretty unremarkable, but there was one small catch.
Bro,
The videos she posted were profusely unhinged, and the relationships that she formed
Where-
with willing and
where
more
the
often
fuck is
than
my,
not unwilling individuals would
comrade
eventually
at?
garner her notoriety all over the internet.
Getting
Culminating in
ganged up on.
2025 with
This
her complete
ah.
disappearance from the internet,
The
amongst
ally
the further
AI is it
allegations of
pisses me the
inappropriate
fuck
behavior.
off.
With all
I'm
of
so
this
mad
coming
right now.
together to beckon the
I'm so
question,
annoyed.
what happens when the line between person and puppet becomes blurred? I'm Turkey Tom, and this is Iciera the Furry. Early records of Iciera's time online are patchy. Her early TikTok and YouTube accounts were both removed from the platform, and she wouldn't become the subject of the internet's attention until around 2021. Her background similarly isn't too available, but in a few older videos, she has shared some of the more unique sides of herself. She's in her 20s, she's 5'1", she's taken, she's asexual, she claims to be autistic, and she was a child of fetal alcohol syndrome, or FAS for short.
Children afflicted with FAS generally lack social skills, too. They tend to get easily frustrated, thereby throwing temper tantrums very often. They exhibit symptoms of being overactive and are not able to sit in a place.
FAS is the most serious manifestation of a spectrum of disorders that arise from alcohol intake during pregnancy. There are many symptoms that can present in children with this condition, but in this video, Sierra highlights the more behavioral aspects, and it wasn't too hard to see exactly why. From the start, Sierra's uploads probably drew raised eyebrows from those who discovered
Have you
her
pronounced
content.
exactly,
Such content would often
exactly?
entail poorly timed
You're a
lip syncs,
psychopath.
some very weird choreographed dance routines, and trippy editing that really didn't possess any real purpose. There was something very primitive about Sierra's videos. This was clearly a person who understood how to operate technology and how to create content, but at the same time possessed no actual grasp on why creators make the artistic choices that they do. However, the strangeness doesn't stop there. In fact, it's just the start, as Sierra's interests in how she expressed them went a little further than the average TikToker.
I want to kiss you. So hard that you will never taste me out of your mouth.
One of Sierra's primary passions was puppetry, which is a pretty harmless hobby for all intents and purposes, or so you would think, because Sierra's intent behind her interest in puppets often went beyond the merely platonic. Although she wasn't an expert in the field, she definitely knew how to make her subjects appear absolutely terrifying.
Wait, don't scroll, hold up. Ask me 1 minute at a time. If you're furry, and if you'd like, could you be friends with me? That's all I'm asking. Please?
And Sierra was also a furry, who would regularly equip herself with paper ears and dinosaur masks.
Okay, maybe I do need to take out the iron horn
These often
first.
included videos where she would emulate traits of animals, which I suppose is somewhat normal for those in the furry community, but it really isn't too normal for many other people.
Oh my god.
How you feel about
That's
people
probably
saying
gonna annoy the
you
hell
sound
out
like
of me.
Yoshi?
We're still not quite done yet, though, because given that she informed the world of her fetal alcohol syndrome, you can probably come to the reasonable conclusion that Sierra is terminally online. For her, this meant sharing practically every single aspect of her life with TikTok, including her friendships and relationships, which she handled with even greater levels of instability. She often sought out camaraderie with other men, who she would encounter on TikTok and cozy up to until they let her into their life. The honorary position that
Other
many
men.
of the people in her circle were given was that of the brother. Contrary to popular belief, this is not because they are blood relatives. Instead, it seems to be a reference to the fact that she would view you as someone who was always going to be there for her, which is a pretty demanding expectation. The problem was that she really didn't have much to offer in return to these people. So many of them ended up distancing themselves from her because she was just too much to handle, which would then cause her to crash out and ask what she did wrong. She would often tag these former friends and hope that sharing her story with confused onlookers would somehow feel like an authentic means of self-expression and woo them back to her. Unfortunately for Sierra, in practically every scenario, this did not work out.
Because ever since she accepted me as her internet brother, she has done nothing but ping me non-stop, almost daily to weekly to monthly for 2 years. So I kindly asked her to stop pinging me so much. And she would always bring up a bunch of excuses like how much she wants to express her love and saying her disability was a problem even if it wasn't. I want to move on from this, but she still doesn't.
Her overly clingy nature, combined with her strange personality, made it hard for her to keep any of the people that she wanted the attention of in her life, often pushing them away. This meant that for the first of her few years on TikTok, she mostly existed in her own little world, attracting a little bit of attention, but nothing that would make her remotely memorable. However, that was all about to change, as Sierra was about to go mainstream. You see, Sierra would run through multiple men before settling on someone who didn't seem particularly understanding of her advances, but at the same time, he didn't try to actively push her away like others had.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
No, Patrick, mayonnaise is not an instrument.
This is Mitterman the Puppet Man, or Gregory. Like many of the other gentlemen that Sierra took an interest in, he is autistic. It probably won't come as a surprise to you to find out that he is also a puppet enthusiast, and he even has his own puppet by the name of Stan. However, unbeknownst to Gregory, soon he would have an even bigger Stan to deal with.
Boo! Spooky ghost. You don't sound that scary. You want to say that again?
Given their shared interest in puppets, Mitterman first encountered Sierra around the late 2010s, even doing duets with her a few times on TikTok.
This is the power of a champion.
Of course I love him. He's the cutest puppet in the world. Somebody who loves me. Yes, I love him too. I'm his favorite, and he's my favorite.
Sierra appeared to be equally interested in Greg as she was in his puppet, even staging some sort of romantic imposition onto both. However, when Sierra perhaps came to her senses and realized that the puppet wasn't real, she turned to the man behind him. It's hard to say when Sierra's crush developed into a full-blown romantic engagement, but according to our furry friend, they officially entered a relationship in 2020, with Sierra and Mitterman sharing romantic TikToks and projecting their loving relationship online for the world to see, even creating her own TikTok family where Stan is the son, which definitely has implications when you consider she tried to date him too. But if you paid closer attention, you'd probably realize that this was a bit one-sided. However, it didn't seem like Gregory was actively trying to distance himself from Sierra. He even tagged her in his TikToks from time to time. On one of Greg's own uploads, someone tagged Sierra asking if this was her man, and Greg replied stating, "I am her man," which provides confirmation that he was at least aware of the relationship and seemed to want to be in it. Greg also posted a Valentine's Day tribute on behalf of Stan, which seemed to demonstrate some romantic interest in Sierra. However, as her TikToks surrounding this relationship only intensified, with Sierra even sharing DMs with the world to show they were in a relationship, Greg began to take a step back. This was because after years of posting, his girlfriend was finally attracting attention for her eclectic expressions of insanity, which Greg was beginning to feel the effects of.
On this guy.
Now, Sierra could have managed this by decreasing the volume of her own posts and giving him her attention instead, but that would have been too sensible. Greg would ask if they could return to being friends in light of all of this attention, but Sierra just said no.
I know you don't want me to leave, but it's time to move on.
Okay, babe, I have a question for you. Since you've been doing all these TikTok videos, can you please give me attention, please?
Sierra Green was the type of creator that drew people in because they were completely bewildered by the content that she uploaded. Even if we set aside the unhinged partner posting, there was material that would make you question whether this person was even real.
God damn it!
Well, get this. At least I made mine instead of having to spend my own money on a pair of shoes.
By 2021, she was beginning to develop this strange cult following of fan pages, some of them being outwardly ironic, and others blurring the line a little.
Stand up, now stop, and let your homeboy hit it.
The viewers had discovered a treasure trove with Sierra Green, a person so
It's
lacking
like Chris
in
Chan.
self-awareness, yet
Kinda reminds
also
me.
being so willing to put practically all of that ignorance on display, even the parts that people probably wouldn't want to see. It seemed virtually beyond belief that a person like this actually existed, and when they peeled back the onion, they only found more layers to pick apart.
They stay?
Yes.
No.
One of the most common targets was her political stances, which landed her in hot water pretty immediately, especially given the communities that she identified with. One of her more public spats was with the LGBT community. Despite the fact that she herself identified as an asexual furry, it seems that the thought of same-sex marriage was one step too far for her, as she very eloquently declared it weird.
I don't support LGBTQ because it's wrong and very
What makes it wrong?
weird. Seeing people with all
You
those
said so.
flags hanging on the wall, gay, trans, whatever, it's just not right, dude.
What's not right about it?
Everybody needs to be equal. Everyone needs to be in their own way. I was born straight and I am proud to be straight.
Congratulations.
People just choose to be who they really want to be. They're not born that way. They can't be born that way.
To be fair to her, she is from a small town in South Carolina, and those communities tend to trend more conservative than the rest of the country. But what's more interesting to me is that her position seemed at odds with how she understood herself. And eventually, after persistent arguments with the community, which seemed to point out this contradiction, she changed her mind and decided she was no longer homophobic. In spite of all of this happening, allegations surrounding her character continued to offer themselves up on a silver platter. And because Sierra had a very visceral reaction to being compared to homophobes, racists, or the baby, it only encouraged people to persist further.
The baby? Why the baby?
Because I do not look nothing like whoever that person is.
I'm done.
Okay, we should have it this time.
Given how obsessive she was over trying to control those in her life, and even the narrative surrounding her, it seems strange that she possessed practically no self-control whatsoever. She She would attempt to adapt to this newfound fame, but this would only serve to aggravate the relationship with her audience.
You might be wondering why I'm pretty pissed off right now. Yeah. When I say
Should
my
have
ear
this one in the
off for
bag
sale,
now.
I didn't mean just go and make your own ears.
One of these ventures was a Discord server where people could meet with fellow Icy Era fans. But as soon as it was launched, it was swamped by trolls and raiders who swarmed the server to unleash hell. And Icy Era herself was the pinnacle of incompetence when it came to actually being in charge of anything. Although it's unknown what exactly caused it, given the many dramas she had started in the span of a few months, her TikTok account would be suspended in mid-June, causing the content train to come to a screeching halt.
My God.
It
Don't
appeared
tell me
that
I
Icy
lose.
Era hadn't taken the news well either, as reports began to make the
Finally.
rounds suggesting that she had tragically died shortly after. And because there were some websites that made the same claim, as well as a few articles, and the fact there was radio silence since her ban, which for everyone who knew her seemed pretty out of character, tributes began to flood in from those who mourned her, and the content that she had blessed the TikTok platform with. Even if it was ironic, Sierra Green had managed to cultivate an ardent following from her content. She had given audiences priceless comedy, political commentary, and romance. It was like a story unfolding in front of our eyes, and like the Shakespeare of our time, it appeared to have ended in tragedy. However, in the ashes, something was stirring, something that said she wasn't quite finished yet, although by the end of this video, you might wish she had. It turns out that Icy Era was very much alive, and that she had plenty more plans for her public profile. But her main problem over the next few years was a power struggle with TikTok to establish herself as an online presence again, with many of her rebooted TikTok accounts being deleted as soon as they were created. During this time, a lot of people couldn't really keep up with the new accounts, and a lot of them forgot about her existence altogether, almost like she was dead. This left her to often post updates on her remaining social media, which mainly consisted of her YouTube channel, where she would attempt to emulate the success she had found on TikTok with YouTube Shorts. Before her ban, she had actually used this channel for musical projects and as a content dump for other miscellaneous stuff. But after being kicked off TikTok, she would begin to post music more frequently, including classics like My Intro Song, Dance to Forget, and my personal favorite, the McDonald's rap.
I need a double cheeseburger and whole lettuce. Double fries from Mercy, then the bun, veggie, couple more
Any content that was uploaded here was just as characteristically unstable as we've come to expect. But you may have noticed that someone is missing from many of these videos, her beloved Greg.
I'm old enough to get myself my own tongue back anyhow.
She had posted one YouTube short that had to do with him, and she possibly posted more content onto deleted TikTok accounts, but her interests as a whole seemed to pivot back towards the more fictional and parasocial. It seems there was trouble in paradise. But if there was, we could always count on Sierra to share exactly what it was. And in August, while struggling to hold down a TikTok account, she posted another music video on YouTube addressing her relationship, seamlessly marrying the personal and creative in a way that only Sierra could do, with the title being I'm Not a Pedo.
missing my boyfriend. He's always something, but he broke up with me ever since my friends thought I'm a pig.
As far as I could find, nobody was making such claims publicly, so this was, again, a more personal matter to her. Yet, she cuts right to the chase and explains what's been happening, sharing that she's been missing her boyfriend dearly, but also saying that those close to her have compelled him to stop talking to her because of certain allegations.
But my friends told me to stay away from me.
My God.
Even though I don't look like a pig, that means pedophile.
Now, as I already said, at this point in time, there was no evidence that she had been doing anything inappropriate. Although it's not the wisest to be friends with 15-year-olds as a 24-year-old TikTok influencer, Sierra is definitely not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And at the time, it would have been hard to sell her as a malicious actor. Nevertheless, it is notable that by her own admission, it was her friends who told Greg to stop talking to her. And it's not hard to wonder exactly why they would do such a thing. It's a very bizarre self-report from someone who was under no suspicion whatsoever, at least publicly. And wait, what the hell did I just watch?
I'm not a pedophile. I was just being nice to the 15-year-old.
When Sierra walks into the room, Colleen Ballinger gulps, R. Kelly tenses up, and P. Diddy shivers. This is what everyone talks about when they talk about the response to end all responses.
I'm not a pedophile.
When I talk about lack of self-awareness, this is what I'm referring to. On one hand, there is just no way that she actually thought this was a good idea. On the other, she must have thought it was a good idea in some way because she uploaded the video, not only sharing these incriminating details with the world when many of them weren't even aware, but also in the form of a song that's attempting to address potentially sensitive details. I just have so many questions that I don't think I'll ever be able to answer, and audience members did as well. If this isn't satire, then what is it? I think we could stop the video here and be done for the day, but she had so much more to say. She was motivated to make sure that this wasn't the last thing she would be remembered for. And although there aren't any major plot developments in the next couple years, Sierra's content continues in a similar vein to the previous videos, although it did draw in less drama during this time.
Hi, Jack.
Hi.
It's been so long since I've seen you.
I miss you.
Her life as an internet nomad would persist for another few years, and although she wasn't entirely forgotten about, it did become very difficult for anyone to keep up with her, with many of her frequent followers having to go to her comment section to ask for the username of her newest account. Eventually, this cycle would be broken at the end of 2023 with the creation of an account that goes by the name of Mika Love Iciera.
I have all this power at my fingertips.
It was unclear what exactly changed this time around, as TikTok's policies on ban evasion aren't exactly unambiguous. Nevertheless, she resumed posting with an expectation to stick around on this account.
So basically, a lot of people's been asking, how do I get my pinky toes to look like this? Well, basically, I'm pretty much born like that.
Her content itself hadn't really changed much. The videos tended to focus more on art and animation, but nevertheless, it was still very much her own. It was still surreal to watch, with videos never really feeling purposeful or authentic. For example, at one point, she used an AI-generated voice and masqueraded it as her sister, which maybe to her was a tech-savvy decision, but it's pretty glaringly obvious, especially when you don't put the script through a spelling and grammar checker.
Hi everyone, this is Sierra's sister speaking. I hope Sierra runs the account and whatnot, but I just wanted to pop in and say a quick thank you to the recent support she's been getting.
The truth was that Iciera hadn't changed one bit. In fact, the only thing that had changed was who she focused her attention on.
Alright class, today we're going to be welcoming a new student into our class. Everybody meet Jaquavius Thompson. Nah, shawty in love.
Since Greg had left Sierra's life, she had developed more traditionally parasocial relationships with public figures. Some familiar faces continued to be subject to her affection, like Jacksepticeye, but it seemed in the past couple years, Sierra had diversified her tastes. In this time, she had become enamored by franchises like Hell of a Boss, Mario, Bluey, Clifford the Big Red Dog, Ahmed the Dead Terrorist, and Lazy Town, the last of which Sierra seemed to settle on for a good amount of time. She grew increasingly infatuated by the character Robbie Rotten.
Hello everyone, I'm here to talk to you about Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town. For those who didn't grew up watching Lazy Town, you're missing out on one cool guy.
I assume most of you know who Robbie Rotten is, but for those who don't, he is the primary antagonist of Lazy Town and the enemy of Sportacus. He's obviously a children's character, he's not a particularly serious villain, and he's been the subject of a lot of memes in the past that you guys may remember, including the viral song, We Are
Where the
Number
hell's
One.
my freaking partner at, dude? Every single time.
I don't think I've actually said the words "we are."
Ah, man, I'm over here actually trying to battle my
2016 or
dude's
something,
fucking
but we're going back.
all the way
Now,
off in a corner with
first,
his finger
Sierra's
up his
posting
fucking
about
ass.
Lazy Town felt more fan-oriented, but it didn't really take long for her true intentions to reveal themselves. If Sierra can develop romantic feelings for puppets, there's certainly nothing stopping her from falling in love with Robbie Rotten. Upon first glance, you might even argue that it's an improvement on her previous suitors, but it began to feel a little more sinister when people came to the realization that our favorite furry TikToker likened herself to the character of Stephanie, even creating a couple of brief fan cams of Stephanie with Robbie Rotten, alongside a post where she announced that she is Stephanie's roommate.
You like Robbie, right?
What? No, I mean, maybe, why did you ask that?
Lena is I saw you smiling at him.
Oh, you saw that.
Leave it. I'm sure people like you.
Like me? But he's kind of a jerk.
You may be a jerk. I think I have a big heart.
Stephanie is canonically a child. Lazy Town is a show made for children, and despite announcing that her new account would be 18 plus a few months prior, Sierra announced that she will be creating a TV pilot for a show called Broken Friendship, where the main narrative concerned her and Robbie Rotten's relationship. This show would apparently feature Sierra, Robbie, and other voice actors, although when the various parts went live, the only voice that was present was Sierra.
It's been a while since me and Robbie talked. Ever since he lied about our friendship, I felt so hurt that I didn't want to talk to him anymore. But at the same time, I miss him.
This only becomes weirder a few months later when Sierra begins to cosplay as Stephanie, a move that can only be described as foreshadowing, but we'll return to that in a bit. By now, Sierra was 27 years of age, and although everyone is entitled to have whatever interest they choose, it did feel kind of suspect trying to combine your self-admitted adult desires with TV shows primarily directed at kids. You contrast this behavior with someone like her ex-boyfriend, Greg, whose enthusiasm for puppets is completely detached from inserting himself into their life. He just really likes them, and it makes him happy. On the flip side, Sierra is only happy if she is written in as a character that is going to receive some sort of gratification. She needs to be the center of attention, and I think that's what underlines all of her behavior documented throughout these past few years.
I'm sorry if that came off abrupt. I'm autistic and also
With Sierra managing to establish a large online presence once more on this new TikTok account, a creator by the name of Underflow published a video covering her backstory. Sierra saw this and posted a response stating that she had made a lot of mistakes that she is deeply sorry for. However, she also said that back then she was not herself. And since then, she's learned a lot. She never wants to repeat that behavior again. She just wants to make others happy and spread love to those who need it. And maybe that's all true, but it feels like we're forgetting something. I don't think I've really emphasized how insane that video is, when, as far as we know, Sierra was privately confronted over allegations that she had spoken inappropriately to someone underage. Allegations that, by her own admission, put her relationship with the love of her life in jeopardy. Her response is to make a minute-long song pushing this information out into the public as if that would make anyone more comfortable with her being around them. To Sierra, everything is this sort of TV show to be written and performed, sometimes with a musical number. Sierra Green can be whoever she wishes, with no boundaries whatsoever, no matter what the consequences might be, despite the fact that such behavior might not be remotely acceptable in society. Sierra felt like someone disturbingly lost within the fantasies that she created, to the point where the reality of the world around her didn't even matter. Yet, by this point, there was no clear indication that anything that Sierra had said herself had even occurred.
Starting to make me think maybe we need to take out the Liger first.
And possessed some strange habits.
The Jogulus thing is so easy to take out, though. That's the thing, is like it's easy. Maybe that's why.
It had been a while,
maybe it's
and
like
maybe she
a
was telling the truth, that she
like
had
a bait.
actually changed. Yet, come the end of 2024,
Get me to focus on
this
that.
image would be completely broken.
Hello everyone, my name is Luca and I'm a victim of Sierra.
Sierra's videos didn't stray far from the themes we've already touched
Kind
on.
of, you know, to be honest with you,
and outside of her past,
I kind of have a question of just like how does that happen? How do you become a victim of Sierra?
Behavior. There was no indication that anything was amiss. You have Jacksepticeye appearing in Robbie Rotten's lair, Rick and Morty watching Jacksepticeye, and My Little Pony's Twilight Sparkle in Hell of a Boss. This was around the time that videos on her would begin to snowball as well, with creators covering her peculiar behavior and sordid past.
And like I said, sometimes she would duet these people that would make prayers and stuff, and she'd be like, oh, I pray for them to come back. And then sometimes she'd make entire videos acting like she's this person's boyfriend whenever they've already been trying to cut them off and blocking them on everything for years.
However, at the end of November 2024, Sierra hopped on TikTok to share the sad news that her mother had passed away.
Hi everyone. So I got news that my mom passed away last night, and she lived a good long life. I'm proud of her. She lived a good long life, raising me and raising my sister. Life goes on.
I'm gonna go talk to her and be glad for her as much as I can.
This was not the first time that Sierra had announced her mom's death. However, this one seemed more
God.
somber and authentic, paying a sincere tribute to the woman who raised her. In spite of the weight of such news, Sierra commits to her best for her every day, perhaps demonstrating some form of growth and understanding. The only question that remained was, what did Sierra's best
Let me
look
upgrade
like?
my command wolf a little bit.
This is getting exciting.
1 week later, a new pinned post appears on Sierra Green's TikTok, allegedly from the former account manager. They claim that in light of recent allegations, they have locked Sierra out of the account. These allegations refer to her speaking inappropriately to minors, something which, now at the age of 27, looks even worse for someone like Sierra. If the first time this had supposedly happened hadn't taught her anything, then there must be some intent behind this. The admin states that they have checked the proof, and it seems reliable, and although they are still investigating it, they can 100% confirm that the messages were at least inappropriate in nature. They state that they won't be sharing any of the screenshots to protect those affected, but they are sharing this message here to raise awareness and ask people not to follow any new accounts operated by
Fuck
Sierra,
you.
as they may not be monitored. Although it's certainly believable behavior from a person who is capable of posting content like this, it does raise a few questions. First of all, why does someone like Sierra have a TikTok account manager? Although there are a few explanations, the most plausible one here seems to be that it might have been to circumvent her previous bans. You could argue that this was still a form of ban evasion, but it seemed to have worked if that was the case. Now, regarding the content and allegations themselves, although it's fair to not share the identity of any of these people with the public, especially if they're underage, it seems a bit strange to not go into specifics and leave it mostly to the audience's imagination. Sierra has repeatedly claimed to be asexual, and although she may just be lying, to not share any details at all seems like it leaves more questions than answers. This is a person who was falsely reported to have died, and although I've never found the original source of these rumors, could this be just another strange trick from Sierra to grab attention? It certainly seems like a step up if it is, given that it's one that can ruin your reputation. I mean, faking pedophile allegations against yourself is definitely one way to get eyes on you. Now, Sierra would not make a sequel to her previous response to such allegations. There was no new song. Instead, she posted on her 4th YouTube account, Sierra Green Videos 4, uploading a masked singer edit of Sherlock Hound. In the comment section, someone would bring this up, asking what exactly had happened, but Sierra declines to comment, saying that it's a long story, but she has a new account called Jacksepticeye Fangirl. If this account had any activity, it was quickly shut down, and over the next few months, there were no further updates outside of other creators who couldn't help being reeled in by the
I can
insanity.
afford the
Yeah, that's all we have. All of her comments were shut off after
No,
that, so
I
we
can't.
can't even communicate with each other. She hasn't showed up at all on any social media yet, and I guess I'll update you whenever we hear about her next.
Despite posting that the investigation was ongoing, the account posted no further updates, falling inactive for the new year, leaving the account and Sierra's fate shrouded in mystery. After further bans, Sierra would return once more with an account by the name of Mika the Raptor Fox. On this short-lived account, she would continue to upload content pledging her dedication to Robbie Rotten, with a parody account pretending to be Robbie Rotten even being set up to take the piss out of Sierra in light of the claims against her.
Shira surprises me and makes me a custom hat.
Look really well on me? Oh, Robbie, you're too nice. You're too kind. I mean, the hat's supposed to be purple, but I don't got no purple paper, but I'm gonna redesign it to make it, different.
Although records of comment sections and videos have largely been lost, a couple attempts by her to stream with her audience were captured, and the reception she received can't exactly be described as positive.
Isn't I like talking to minors? Cause you're up to
Okay.
After a pretty short stint with this account, at the start of June 2025, this account again was taken over by another person who shut it down, this time making a post that goes into a lot more detail about the allegations against her, which include supposedly shaming children, manipulating her 16-year-old boyfriend, engaging in erotic roleplay, sharing not safe for work stuff, pretty much everything explicit you can do with someone. This seems a lot more serious than anyone could have ever thought, and a couple of days later, an account by the name of Luca uploaded a video to YouTube documenting all of her violations against himself, his sister, and many others, accompanied with supplemental commentary.
We've both known her since we were 13, and she has done nothing but use us for her own personal needs.
Today, we are 16 years old. We will be here to address the numerous allegations and confirming most of them with actual evidence.
There is a litany of documentation on display, including DMs, audio recordings, videos, pretty much every conceivable piece of evidence that could be organized against her. Given how little subtlety Sierra appears to possess, it's almost shocking that she wasn't called out sooner.
She basically told me she could be my mom. And look at it now. She used this mom role of hers to make me to be a doll to her. I had to do anything she wanted, or else I was being a bad daughter. And that she helped raise me in a way, despite being dependent on us and never treated our issues seriously.
After so many years, I had grown an emotional attachment towards her and began caring about her. Over time, she stopped caring about the mother and son aspect to our friendship, saying I reminded her of Robbie and that I could be a good boyfriend if we ever broke up with her current one. She even began referring to me as her boyfriend to other people and complimenting my physical appearance and voice. This was very new to me since I hadn't received attention like that before, so I didn't question it much.
The content itself covers her inappropriate behavior and role plays with minors, alongside her short-lived relationship with a 15/16-year-old, which she ended when she found out his age, which does make her seem good at first glance, but it was only after 5 days of complete insistence from those around her. Sierra apparently continued to obsess over this person, and they are reported to have ended their life recently.
I think it should also be said that even now, she still keeps photos of the alleged victim and refuses to delete them, saying it's too hard to let go, which is disgusting considering it has been a year or more ever since the incident.
The video also reports on the generally poor treatment of those around her, including her pets, and the persistent pattern of behavior on all fronts, despite the repeated confrontation with others explaining the folly of her actions.
In this server, she spoke about Judith Barcy, I think that's how you say her name, I'm sorry, and her murder. This made multiple people uncomfortable. Since it was a sensitive topic, they all expressed their discomfort, and she in response started guilt-tripping everyone. She had found a TikTok where two cosplayers are cosplaying Robbie Rutland and Stephanie. She then proceeded to roleplay her finding Robbie cheating on her and began to use real photos from the show or behind the scenes on the show with the two actors saying that they had done gross things. We can see she is aware of what she's doing by calling out Robbie as a pedophile, yet when being told how weird this all was, she insisted it was fine because it was only role play.
Needless to say, this is not a person who has done a handful of bad things, realized it, learned their lesson, and not repeated it. Instead, this is a person who seems to be very much aware of the awful things that they're doing and continues to do them for their own satisfaction, only playing the victim when they're finally confronted.
What?
What? They're gonna regret it ever doing that.
What are you gonna do to them?
Nothing. I'm just saying they're gonna regret it. They're gonna come crawling right back to me.
What stands out to me about this video is just how actively malicious Sierra seems to be in her actions. We're gonna delve into the mentality behind it soon enough, but on the surface, she just seems to love controlling people. She loves people who don't stand up to her. This isn't merely delayed mental age. She is aware of her authority and is actively targeting a certain kind of person.
She is known for talking to multiple minors, calling them her friends.
And you're oh, you should be hanging out with teenagers anyway. Like, I have one adult friend on Discord, and that's
Luca's video also makes mention of another person called Nicholas Aguirre, who was, going off historical records, the one person who seemed to simp for Sierra, despite her regularly appearing disinterested in his advances.
Look, haters, if you do not like if you don't like Sierra's content, then why follow her? Why follow her? Because you haters don't like Sierra's content about what you don't
Evidence is shared that he has also made disturbing advances onto underage individuals, with links to other pieces of evidence, although these seem to be removed now.
In conclusion, Sierra is a grown 29-year-old woman who shouldn't be pampered and babied just because she's autistic. She's aware of her behaviors due to everyone telling her how wrong she is, and even she herself has admitted that she knows she's in the wrong. but she still does not want to own up to her mistakes.
If there was any doubt before, there was very little doubt left now. This was a person who shouldn't be anywhere near the internet, and since that video, there has been radio silence from Sierra, who, for the time being, has realized her time is up. With all of that said, it wouldn't surprise me if she attempted a return in the future given her past record. These are the actions of a person who doesn't know when they're finished.
I don't recommend harassing or getting involved with her or anyone else included, especially if you're a minor. We share this to spread awareness.
It's a rather depressing end to what
Battle
could have been a
Lion.
much more lighthearted
I got
story,
two more
but it's
to-
one that needed to be told, so her behavior could be
when
brought
this,
to a halt. Unfortunately, sometimes
mode?
the signs are right in front of us.
She has a child's mentality, so she seeks out children herself. Is that what we're getting
There
at?
was always something up with Sierra Green.
Seriously? Ammonia is an illness. My mom died from a bad illness of ammonia.
It's a kind of
Ammonia or
strangeness
pneumonia?
that can reflect a lot of character traits, and it's kind of hard to draw a conclusion from a snapshot of the person. That's how TikTok operates. These are sub-minute videos. They're not designed to tell a story, and most people who encountered Sierra's uploads wouldn't even be following it. They would just see the surreal dancing, the obsessive commentary, the purposeless editing, and be entertained by that alone. In many cases, TikToks tell us nothing about a person whatsoever, and so maybe we shouldn't draw too many inferences from extreme eccentricity.
She's pretty tame in comparison to the majority of people that we cover on this channel, and seems to be truly trying to learn from her mistakes and improve. But she will continue to face problems on any social media platform she uses, due to the amount of unintentionally funny content that she produces.
Nevertheless, if you were following the story, you would see a rather disturbing pattern of behavior, particularly towards those in her life.
Okay, babe, I got a question for you. Give me some attention.
She seemed to obsessively target people who at
Okay,
least
that's
seemed
not a
somewhat
question.
susceptible.
Okay.
She would then parasitically attach herself, spam them with content, both publicly and privately, until all of their empathy and
Like a love
energy
bomber.
was drained. It's not my place to speculate on how she treated them, as those people
an
would
energy
probably
vampire.
rather leave that part of their life behind. But it wouldn't surprise me if she also harassed them in many of the ways we've witnessed elsewhere. Her obsession with puppets was kind of weird, but it made sense when she revealed her character. This was a person who wanted absolute control, and there's no better representation of a person easier to control than a
Than a
literal
puppet.
puppet.
We've been together for a year. This guy, he hid his feelings from me because he didn't want me to find out that he was in love with me. So I told him I had feelings for him.
What is going on?
He did the same thing. I wish he would have told me first instead of just hiding his feelings from me. Babe, what is wrong with you?
She treated each of her supposed brothers like puppets, scolding them when they didn't comply with her demands, expecting them to follow her clumsy sleight of hand and smile all the same. The problem is that Sierra's own lack of emotional intelligence rendered these ruses pretty fruitless, and even people who may struggle socially would inevitably wake up to her toxic traits. In light of this, her approach seemed to take a disturbing turn, at least partly resulting from the creation of her Discord account. The thing about Sierra is that, at least to me, she doesn't present as your typical creep. There's no strong evidence that she's sexually attracted to anyone other than Robbie Rotten and her many puppets. However, she was so desperate for indulgence that her own company couldn't bring, that she was always on the hunt for new victims. What she looked for in another person was for those who would tolerate her sick tendencies, enable these fantasies for her to live in, and act almost as a possession of hers. Once she had exhausted the route of autistic adults and attempting to fulfill this, she realized that the most tolerant people were those far younger than her, those who would look up to her, those who were more susceptible to her manipulation, who would make excuses for her. I'm sure she, and goons like Nicholas, would say that she has the mind of a child, but the evidence just doesn't support that. Although there's no doubt that she obviously has had some developmental issues, she doesn't exhibit behavior that entirely encompasses a regressed mind, and her cruelty towards all of these
No,
underage
I mean,
people
whatever
in her
she's
circle
got going
is
on,
more than
she's
enough evidence of that.
very
She
much
would
seems
regularly hold her
high-functioning.
position as an adult over them. She spoke down to them, placed herself in a matriarchal position, offered the benefits of knowing an adult, while imposing her will and power over those people. This isn't someone who was too immature to really understand what they were doing. doing. This is a person who was very much aware and disregarded the potential harm that it could have for the sake of her own benefit. You compare this to many of the brothers that came before her, and you see how stark it is. This is the difference between possessing juvenile tendencies and actually exploiting them.
I was just being nice at a 15-year-old. I'm not a pedophile.
It's kind of surreal to think that the subject of her infamous response video is likely no longer with us, and as much as I don't really feel comfortable speaking to the role she may have played in another person's death, it is a testament to her vindictiveness that she could inflict so much damage over such a limited interaction.
They're gonna regret it ever doing that. What are you gonna do to them? Nothing. I'm just saying they're gonna regret it. They're gonna come crawling right back to me.
I've covered a lot of messed up people on this channel, and I'm not going to pretend as if I'm some kind of authority figure. Ultimately, what I make is entertainment, okay? They're YouTube videos, I'm not the police. But there is no doubt that many of these people do deserve to be held accountable for their actions, just not by me. But in a lot of cases, you can see how someone went down a dark path, and how there may even be a way.
Alright, well, anyways, I'll catch you guys next time. Alright, bye.